Okay, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, out there in comics world. Welcome to another episode of There Will Be Ink. I am your host, the Purple Smurf. Today's topic is going to be iconic vehicles and their pilots or drivers. I'm doing our little theme here while I rap and wait for people to come in. I'm not really going to rap, but here's a little teaser from the very first episode we did. And this is a nice vehicle, Gordion, the warrior. Look at this air bike. And you have to have your Robot Panther. You know, when you're rocking an air bike of this magnitude and you don't have your Robot Panther by your side, it's just the look is incomplete. If you've never watched this show, it's just brilliant. I started watching it this year. The Robot Panther's name is Clint. And look how Gordion flips his hat and it lands right on the Panther. This is the kind of swagger we like to cultivate here on my program. Now, seriously though, this is a drawing program. It's for anybody who's interested in indie comics, creating your own comics, anyone who's interested in art, pop culture, sci-fi, whatever you want to do. But I think of this as sort of a water cooler show. Get people around this table drawing, talking, and you might encounter an artist who you want to work with in the future. You might learn about a project that you want to back, or you might see an artist who can do sketch cards for you or a variant cover for you. So we have a saying here, which is no politics, just creativity, conversation, and love of the art form. Because we're in a good place right now in crowdfunded comics where we have the wind at our backs. If I can produce my book and find 100, 200 readers, that would be amazing. That would be a miracle for me coming out of nowhere, the unknown quantity. So we're living in a time when we can draw live on the television here with people from Peru, with people from England, with people from Mexico, all at the same time, live drawing explosions and robot panthers. So it's a good time to be in the comics world. And I hope this little show is a nice place where people feel they can drop in. We don't keep anyone out because of political ideologies. We don't keep anyone out because of who they've worked with in the past. I think all that stuff is just a huge waste of time. You know, these kind of amazing storytelling experiences we have through fantasy and science fiction and adventure stories, they unite us and bring us together. So let's focus on the creativity and the inspiration, you know, the things that unite us. Once we get going a while, I might even pick a winner each week. So we can call it a competition. But right now, this just getting our legs under us as I roll out the pre-launch for Tales of Zero. See, this is how you know Gordion is a badass. He not only wins, but then he hands them a box of band-aids. And they thank him for it. It's just a great show. Great animation style and just great 70s, late 70s vibe. 1979, I think. So we had a lot of fun drawing characters from that. This week's theme, iconic vehicles and their pilots. So let me show you one that I've been working on for a couple days just to warm up. And then I'll show you what I'm going to draw today, and we'll see who else joins the stream. So let me show you what I have in front of me right now. So here's the pencils I did this. I did this on a stream with ID Crisis the other day while we were just hanging out. As you can see, it's a female pilot from the original Battlestar Galactica 1978 with the Colonial Viper in the background. So the pencils took me a while, and as you can see, one of my kids found it and added a whole bunch of other levels of pencils that I had to go and then erase. But the beauty of it is, this was meant to be light boxed, so it didn't matter. You could scribble on it, it really didn't matter. As long as I can see the important lines, we're all set. But I referenced this from a publicity photo of the actress who played Athena, one of the pilots, and I referenced this from a model kit of one of the classic Battlestar Colonial Vipers, and then I, you know, kind of made a composition as if they were both in the same shot. It came out pretty good. Now let me show you the inks, and I did these inks while we were talking to Don Chin and Beyond Time, John from Beyond Time. So this is the finished inks, and I call this show "There Will Be Ink" because I kind of like the idea that, you know, ink is spilled live in front of the camera, and sometimes the result is beautiful and sometimes it is not so beautiful. But honestly, I think this came out really pretty good for a self-taught artist like me. I'm particularly happy with the bits around the engines there. I feel like I really got some good texture there and a sense of depth. It's funny how lightboxing works because it's not exactly tracing. It's more like building out in 3D. So from my original pencil, you can see I have a lot of the dimensions in there. See, it's there. All the dimensions are there. But look how much more this pops to life and sort of draws your eye into it, making this one engine closer to you than the central engine, and then Athena even closer to you. And then I added the sort of the hangar doorway from Battlestar Galactica, which was always sort of a trapezoid. I thought it'd be a nice graphic to tie the whole thing together. So that went pretty good, I thought. It's a nice example of some ink work on today's topic, which is iconic vehicles and their pilots. For instance, if you think about the Colonial Viper, it totally was an iconic vehicle. I love the single seat spaceship, right? Single seat spaceship. The engine's right behind the pilot. No comfort. This thing is just a dart. You're flying through space trying to blast Cylons or whatever. It's just a great design because it's super economical. It's just a rocket engine with you strapped to the front. And we see a lot of stuff like in modern science fiction properties where they say females are going to have prominent roles and everything. And I do recall there was a character in The Last Jedi who was a female pilot who didn't survive the first 10 minutes of the movie. And I feel for that actress. If I was a starfighter pilot and a female starfighter pilot in the new Star Wars trilogy, I would hope that I could kick some butt, not just get vaporized in the first 10 minutes. But if you go to the old Battlestar, so many of the women were fighter pilots, and they were strong and they were feminine and they were cool, and they got out there and mixed it up in combat and then came back and put their arms around the guys, and just it was a crew, and it didn't really seem to have that gender discrimination. So there's your old school 1978 Battlestar Galactica female fighter pilot Athena. This is what I'm working on for today. Going back to the 70s, today I am working on a piece from the movie Death Race 2000. So I penciled this in advance of the show. So this is my own pencils. And there's his car, which is sort of like this alligator-shaped car. And there's Frankenstein. You see he's got a mask and he's got this helmet. That was kind of funny, This is 1975. And here's this figure in black with the mask and the helmet. And in the clip we're going to watch from the movie, it says, half of his body has been replaced by cybernetic parts. So it's like we have our own like pre-Darth Vader Darth Vader. And I don't know if you're a fan of B movies in general. I'm a huge fan of B movies in general. B movies are my favorite form of movie. And Death Race 2000 is just a brilliant Roger Corman social satire, like The Running Man or things that came much, much later. But not only the car is amazing, and the crash and the fighting and the combat with the cars and the overacting and the hamming it up. Like Sylvester Stallone is over the top in this. He's great. But there's a huge piece of social satire when they show how dumb this form of entertainment is, and they show how the people just eat it up. And then you look at our real world and you say, oh, it's not like that. It's not like that. Okay, maybe it's like that. So let me show you what I got going here. So here, I'm taking my pencils, putting them on my incredibly high-tech Crayola, made for 12-year-olds light box. Punch it up, and I'll show you what I got going so far. So this is what I got going so far. And I'm using a brush pen. And I decided to start with the helmet, get the clear sort of graphic part of the helmet in, get into some deep black. Not that the helmet is deep black, but the shadow of the part that's behind his face should be my deepest black. I'll probably do that into some deep blacks too. The whole trick will be to make this look like the helmet has a very hard, sheeny reflection, where the rubber part that covers his face has sort of a matted and dull reflection. I'm trying to pull that with the ink strokes. And then I've got his car here, which is, again, it's all drawn by hand. It's not a perfect representation of the car, but it'll have to be good enough. And this is, like the name of the show says, there will be ink. So this is a drawing stream, but it's also an inking stream, because that's a skill set that I want to develop, especially just the kind of like which hand stroke are you using? Are you pulling away? Are you lifting as you release it? Or are you starting light and then bearing down? Just that whole sort of series of instinctual movements is something that I'm just the kind of person I learn by doing, and I learn kinesthetically, and I learn by making mistakes. So there's no way for me to learn it except to do it. And like I say, I mean, this is some progress. The engines on the Viper, that's some good stuff. For me, that's high level. I mean, I hope you guys all know I'm a colorist and I'm a writer first, colorist second. I'm not a lead artist in any way, but I do find that comics being a visual medium, when I do storyboards and when I do layouts, if I can draw them, it really is more impactful. Of course, no one would ever want to buy a comic with my art, but it's fun. It keeps me growing. And also, as a writer, you really can't share your stuff online and say, hey, here's this new script idea. So you do need to have some sort of visual thing that you can just share online to get people excited about your work. So I'm going to get into it. We'll see if we have any guests coming by. It might just be me rocking it solo, and that's fine. If anybody wants to drop a message in the chat and tell me how we're doing, I'd be appreciative of that. But so far, just hang out with me and we'll do some inking. In a little bit, I'll let you watch a little clip of Death Race 2000 if you've never seen it before. So what are my tools right now? This is a Precise V5, available at your local CVS, Walgreens, Staples. It's a very commonplace pen, but I actually really like it. I like it as a tech pen. You wouldn't think I'm using it as a tech pen now because I'm actually just filling in this edge. But I want the edge of his face to be kind of defined and kind of fade into this hatching, which I did with a different pen. So this is, again, and also I'm just warming up, getting my confidence back to get into this. One thing that I've noticed, and this is why I'm trying to preset some of my pieces for this show, is that I get so into it that I ignore the chat. People are waiting backstage. I don't even see them. So I really, once I start inking, I really get into a zone. So start with that before I get the real thing. Now, this is the real thing I'm using. This is, maybe it's not this one. It looks just like this one. Everybody see what that is? It's a Tombow brush pen. And I've got a couple that look alike. I want to make sure I'm using my favorite one here. No, that's not it. Well, you know what? I'll just use whichever one is here. Yeah, this is my favorite one. I know they all look the same. Call me crazy, but this is my favorite one. The release on it just feels really clean, and I'm getting into it. So if I get a little quiet right now, it's because I'm getting into the zone. But thanks for being a part of this. And check out my campaign for Tales of Zero. It's going to launch the day after Valentine's Day. And it's going to be an art-heavy B-movie, pulp sci-fi adventure with a cinematic style, degraded film stock vibes, incredible ink work by Matthew J. Queen, and colors and script by yours truly. This is our first full-length collaboration. We did have a story in an anthology last year, a 6-page story, in an anthology called Containment Breach. And that's available on Comixology if you want to see that, a little example of our work. But Matt and I, our two styles, I think really go well together. His inks are impeccable, and my colors are, how can I say it? They're not flat, but they're also not using flatting in a lot of the modern techniques. I really do a lot of brush strokes and leave a lot of brush strokes visible in my finished colors. And I think that with his inks together just makes a really textured and cinematic style. Like I say, film grain. That's the word I keep coming back to, is that when you see what we're doing, it looks like film grain. And when I see that look, I get really excited. All right, so here's Frankenstein. He's got this mask with these eye holes. So, oh my gosh, what should I do when I'm drawing these eye holes? Should I pull the pen towards me? Should I push it away? I'm so nervous. What if I make a mistake? Oh gosh. A huge crowd is watching me do this. Not bad. Now the strongest stroke is the stroke away, right? So this should be pretty easy. I should be able to close this oval up with a nice clean line here, he says confidently. Not bad, not bad. Now again, once you start working with this stuff, you realize, oh, this is why they use circle templates. This is why they use, because just to make the two eye holes in the mask roughly look alike was a challenge for me. But we'll see. I'll take the bottom and I'll bring it up. And I guess I should say another fun thing about using Lightbox is that you don't have to do what the pencils say, You can be like, here, this little earpiece, I didn't like where it was, so I just drew it in a different place. That's the fun part, is not only going with your pencils, but then other times just overriding them completely. And just be like, nah, this would look better if it was over here. So that's a kind of fun thing to get into. I'm going to do this side of his nose just as a shadow somewhere. See, there's going to be a highlight on his cheek there. I'm going to put the edge of that highlight and then just pull some little cross hatches down, leading into the nose, and then maybe pull that into full black into the corner of the eye right here. I'm sure this is gripping television, but it's like Bob Ross. Just find a little happy tree. So yeah, you guys can see that, all right? You guys can see that, all right? Looks pretty good. Now here I want to leave a highlight between the nose and the shadow. I want to leave a space of pure white. So I'm going to fade that in, taper that in, go to pure black on this eye. Leave that little highlight. That's where the light is catching the side of his nose. Well, not his nose, but the rubber mask that he wears over his head. Anybody in the chat seen this movie? Death Race 2000. I saw it back in the 80s, and it was just a trip. It was so funny, so campy and over the top. Again, before the age of reality TV, except it totally anticipated reality TV. All right, I'm liking that. I'm liking that. I'm going to go down and look at this upper lip. He's got one of those things with a, it's going to come up and stop right up under that little nasal septum thingy there. I know my anatomy. So I'm going to make that line in advance and then work my way up to it. I'm going to not go to deep black here on the side of the face because I've already done the deep black for the shadow. So I'm either going to do some hatching in the other direction here, or maybe even go to this smaller pen for a little bit. Because I need to shade this area and create kind of a gradient. So here I'm on the smaller pen. That's not bad. It's not bad at all. I think I'm going to keep that going too. Trying to outline this highlight. The fun part about the highlight is to kind of walk into it and leave a porous border where the hatching just fades into white, but it isn't clear where that white ends. Whereas on this side of the highlight, I have a hard border. So again, this is just what I'm thinking. I'm not a highly trained inker. I'm just having fun doing what I think is going to look good and trying to teach myself which intuitions to follow and which intuitions to override. So here my hatching is kind of getting a little goofy, I have to admit, but we'll see. I'm just having fun with it. I'm going to go into this, go up the diagonal, extend that into the area, try to blend these together, and then taper it off right to the edge of the card. It's not bad. I think you're seeing that, right? Yeah, you're seeing how I'm outlining the form. That's the thing about lightboxing as far as I'm concerned. Again, I'm no expert. I'm just a smurf. But the whole thing is creating the illusion of dimension. That's the whole thing that makes the lightbox fun, is that you're looking at a flat surface, but you're seeing so many possibilities. Like, look at that. Did you see that? Look at that, how I kind of brought this whole area to life. Just going with certain possibilities. Here I'm going to keep that diagonal line going. Bring it into this corner. And then right there, we're going to bring it to hard black or deep black. This is so funny. This is the opposite of a tutorial. Because I'm certainly not teaching you how to do it. I'm discovering it. I'm discovering it along with you. So here I've got 3 different angles. None of them connect, but I kind of like it. If it was a rubber mask, it would have those wrinkles in it. So maybe I'm creating some texture or some wrinkles. Let's keep going. Let's see how far I can take this baby. And if somebody's in the chat wants to say hi, just stop in and say hi. If anybody wants to be drawing along at home, post your stuff to Twitter in response to my post about this show. Post it on your own page and at me. But I appreciate anybody who's along for the ride here on a Tuesday night. I'm going to make a little under thing for the eyes, as if where his eyes peek through, there's a rim. You can see there's, it's a cutout from the rubber mask, so I want to leave a little area there. I switched to this light pen because I've got to be able to build this up gradually, So starting with this very light touch on this, whatever it's called, Precise V5, allows me to just get in there lightly start to create the terrain. And then once I get a little bit happy with it, I'll go in with some heavier stuff. Here, as you see the angle, I don't know if you can see the angle. The angle that I've got right now is here. So I'm going to cross that at about a 45 to bring it into the highlight area like this. Again, trying to create the outline of that highlight without a hard line. I think that came off rather well. Now here, my angle is here. So my next angle for this guy is going to be across that at about another 60-degree angle-ish. Let's see how I do it. Not bad, not bad, not bad. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. We're outlining that pretty well. And now here, with the big pen, I really started some upward strokes, for the big shadow. And I'm going to continue those now with the thin pen, all at the same angle. Just let them extend a little further. Bring that shadow into the face before I cross it with the big pen. I want these areas of shadow to start to find each other and start to merge into one. I think you can see that I'm doing that. Yeah, it's almost like I know what I'm doing, but don't be fooled. All right, I'm going to go back to this combo. Fudenosuke, which is really nice. What I like about it is if you just use the very tip, you can get a pretty clean line. And then as you push down or pull away, you can really vary the width of it. There, kind of cleaned up the edge of his face. Now I'm going to come across, again, I don't know what angle it is, a 30-degree angle, I don't know what it is, and try to bring the darkness in a little more to match this new thin lines that I did. That's looking good. See, I'm surprising myself. It doesn't matter if anybody's watching right now, because I'm such a homemade artist. If I get it to look good at all, I'm pretty excited. And maybe there will be a day when I'm ready to do my own full illustrations. But for now, it's just a learning process, and I really enjoy it. All right, I'm going to pull it on the fender of the car, because that really is also the border of his face. Because I want the car to overlap his face. I hope you can see that, all right? I think we're getting somewhere here. Now I think if I'm looking at the composition, I'm thinking the next thing I need to do is bring the dark colors of the helmet. So I'm going to take this and kind of bring a straight line up there. This is where the reflection kind of bisects the helmet. Then there's sort of a dark area that kind of comes in, goes out. These are just reflections. And you see how I'm just being a little bit fun with it. And then I'm going to let that line taper off. So these are going to be a highlight. It's this area that I just mapped out. I'm also going to make another highlight, but right now I guess you can say I'm sort of stippling. I'm just using a line of dots to create a border where a highlight will be. And that way, if I go across it too much or don't observe it perfectly, it's just a porous border and it'll be forgiving. I think that's looking pretty good. So off of this highlight, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to come in really hard, really short strokes, to kind of show that the reason this white is so white is because it's a hard light reflection next to some deep black. See how I did that? So now I'm going to kind of try to create that connecting layer so that there's a single line where the reflection stops and the color of the helmet can be seen. And I'm going real slow, because if I overdo it, I can't undo it. So I'm just adding a little more and a little more and a little more. Oh yeah, I should show you one other pen that I find invaluable. Probably the most important pen. Do I have it right here? Yeah, look at this one. So right now I've got the Japanese brush pen, the pen you can buy at CVS and Walgreens, which I'm using for my tech pen, and then this thing. This is the best thing going. A Bic ballpoint pen. This thing is so great for shadows and for areas where you just want to create a mid-tone. I think this thing is just beautiful. It's like your grayscaler. I can use this thing to bring in mid-tones that I couldn't otherwise do, and it's still hatching. It still will, reproduce cleanly. But when I get into this, I'm really having fun. Let's continue the helmet. Once again, I'm just pulling these in, just seeing what I'm going to do, because I think I'm going to go to a deep black right there. I want to make this point
a deep black. So watch this. But I want it to fade out pretty fast, and it doesn't stay deep black forever. Just right at the point. And then pull it higher a little bit. Getting somewhere, right? Getting somewhere. Maybe I'll just keep pulling that up. Give it a little sheen, show that it's made of metal. And give it a little reflection quality by using these tall verticals and leaving some highlights. Maybe I can even do something like this. And I'm just experimenting, but look, if I put a dark sort of path through there, and come up and kind of absorb my dotted line. There. Let's see if I can absorb my dotted line. Nice. Then bring that path right to it. Yeah, I think I'm getting kind of a metallic effect right there. I hope you guys are able to see something of it. And I'll just keep that going. I like that. I like these tall pull strokes. Yeah. And I can go in over them again, thicken them up, and create this kind of like reflection pattern that kind of fades into the fully dark. I think I'm going to do the same thing down here, but with a small pen. Do a little cross hatching here that fades into the full black. And then the white between these two layers will read, I hope, like a kind of reflection. Look at this, I'm using just kind of a stipple approach to feather these two layers together. And hey, I have no training at all. This is just me going on instinct. So if there's terms I'm not using or concepts I'm not using, welcome to the party, pal. So look at this. Now I'm just putting these tall, very light ones. See if I can bring this and marry it into this. Did I do it? Yeah, I think I did it. See that? Now we've got kind of a continuity from here to here. Now my instincts are telling me to do the diagonal on that and create the middle ground. Blends this into the layer you just did. So I'm going in the opposite side of the stroke, only about halfway. Trying to create a gradient from deep black into that gray and then married into this, which I think I did. Yeah, all right, so I'm kind of happy with that. I think the only thing to do right there maybe is just to make the hard outline of the helmet itself doubly wide. So it's really clear that this is a physical object with a hard glossy surface. Yeah, I think that works well. And then I think right here at the dividing line of the helmet, I need a deep black that goes all the way up. Kind of show that, again, this is the fulcrum. This is the place where the reflection pivots. Everything on this side is in one light and everything on this side is in another light. Now you remember that here I did this little trail of a white highlight, and it's going to have to marry into something similar down here. So let me see what I can do. I'm going to do something similar. I'm going to pull these strokes towards me. Very simple strokes. And I want those things to walk right into that little highlight. Did it. Now I'm going to pull these a little bit on the diagonal. Again, these are tiny little things. Who would even see these things? Now I'm going to march right along that line to create that same kind of highlight zone where by going here, everything on this side is pure reflection. I'll take the little pen and bring this almost to the edge, but not always. Not always. So even the edge is going to catch a little reflection. All right, and look at that. Frankenstein, you're looking good, pal. You're looking good. Maybe I'll even put another cross on there. And the last thing I'll do is, even with this tiny tech pen, is straighten out this line so that I really see it as a reflection, not a physical object. All right, that wasn't bad. Now the fun part is to do everything above this dotted line and make it look like it's the black of the helmet, and then all of this white area is some light source reflecting off of it. So looking at the technique I had here, I used the brush pen, just a bunch of vertical strokes. I don't think the same thing is going to work on this side, but I don't want the directionality to be so different. So I'm going to start with this guy and just create, if I can, a vertical kind of gray zone. I know it's not vertical, it's actually something of an angle, but I'm hoping that later on that will just get absorbed. What I should have done is spun the paper. That's not bad. That's actually not bad at all. Now, maybe what I should have done is, spun the paper like that, so my natural vertical would have been truly vertical, but that's all right. Maybe what I'll do is do a similar kind of thing where I'm going to create this, it's almost like a reflection, but it's dark. And it has the waviness of a light pattern, but I do it in the dark, kind of like I did on the other side. And then that can marry into that. Now I can place something on one side of that and something on the other side of that. So let me do some cross-hatching that takes me right to the reflection line. And I'll put those lines closer together. And that way everything underneath that first dark line and what I'm doing now will seem like a reflection of light that's going over a curve. Now everything above this, I think I can do it much darker. Maybe even go to the other pen. Like at this area is getting a whole different kind of light. Go at this diagonal. See what I can do up there. That's not bad. Bring this to the top. And then maybe take this edge into deep black eventually. Maybe have it merge right there. I'll use sort of a stippling just to dot it in so that I don't have too hard of a fade. From this deep black right on the edge. Keep it unpredictable. Keep it organic. And then maybe fill it in here. All right. I think we're getting somewhere. Now I think if I do the hard edges of the helmet and just double thick the whole thing. So this line, and this line, double thick the whole thing. We're going to get somewhere. So I'm just making this twice as thick. Now I'm going to have to come and do this whole thing, laying the brush pen kind of on its side. I know some people who know what they're doing are watching me do this and are saying, dude, you don't even know how to use those tools. And yeah, so what? So what? There we go. All right, let me hold that up to the camera and you can tell me what you think out there in TV land, internet land. Tell me how it's looking. Yeah, if you're thinking it's still got a ways to go, so am I. It's still got a ways to go. It's always when you pull it off the pencils and you see, oh, well, it's still got a ways to go. All right, I'm going to get into some of the details here of his lips. When you're doing a guy's lips, this is years of experience. Do the center line and give it some crinkle. You know what I mean? Do the top line. Don't really firmly do it. And then on this bottom lip, you can just pull it across and try to keep it like a little bit trapezoidal. For a woman's lips, I would do things a lot more with a lot more curves. Let's give him something here, some darkness here, some wrinkles here. Try to make the shading almost look like the texture of his lips. That's not bad. Let's give him some lines under his eyes. Now, the real character of Frankenstein, he's very much scarred on this side of his face. So once I'm happy with it, I'll go and add some scars here. But you know how I was saying earlier that this big pen is your magical grayscaler? So look at this. Let's put some of this big pen in here. Still, I'm just using cross-hatching, right? Not doing anything else. So it's not like I'm shading it. But this big pen allows you to do some just wonderful stuff that feels like grayscale when you do it, Like maybe some shadows from underneath that lip. Could be right here. And then I can even get into some of this stuff. Use the big ballpoint and just pull it in and just take it down one value, Without really adding anything, I can take everything down one more value of darkness. It allows you to work really gradually. The fine people at BIC, providing fine drawing implements for only 99 cents. So see how I'm doing this? I'm just using this BIC to just take everything down one level. Because when I took it off and looked at it, I said, ooh, there's a long way to go to get this to looking like a black mask. Right now it still has almost too much white on it. So maybe I can even do something here where I had pure white for this highlight. Let's change that up a little bit and use this to create some additional reflections. See how beautiful this big pen gives you stuff, but it's very subtle. I love it. It's like the least fancy pen on earth, but it can really do some finesse that fancier, more decisive pens can't do. Yeah, this is like the pen of the indecisive because you can work so lightly. I mean, it's probably that we all used them in high school so much so that the fine control on it is innate. But, you know, when I was in high school drawing, I was terrified to draw with a pen. So, but yeah, this pick is these ballpoints. They're just like they can do it all. Maybe we should do that as a challenge coming up. We'll do it an episode where you're only allowed to use one of these big ballpoints for the whole drawing. That would be amazing. So notice I'm just using this as like a grayscaler to bring things together. I've got his nose, the other side of his nose. I've got this side of his lip. And now I'm just kind of having fun, you know? I'm just pulling the shadows that match what I did with the pencils. And I'm not really focused on how perfect it is. Oh yeah, you know, right under his nostrils, there's this area where there's sort of like a black, again, anti-reflection, whatever that might be called. Nobody say shadow. All right, now I'm going to double up on some of this hatching. That was only a single layer before. Again, I want to create this gradient so it marries into the deep black right about there. Ah, that's not bad. Getting somewhere. I'm going to come in. The helmet itself has got to have some kind of shadow, right? It's got to leave a shadow. So we can indicate that a little bit, play that against the reflection. Like that, I might go into that a little deeper. You see the finesse this pick gives you? It's just beautiful. Especially when I'm trying to do these soft highlights. I don't want to have too much of a hard edge. This really lets me get it feathered in just where I want. Oh, I think this is starting to look much better. Now I think what I'll do is I need to commit the difference between a white highlight that's catching the light here to just the gray of his helmet. And I think I'll use this pen for that too. So this is just going to be a straight diagonal where I'm only going to leave a tiny, tiny rim lighting on the edge. And I'm going to go over all of it. So all my hard work, all those beautiful lines, I'm now just going to cross it all off, go into it another level. It takes all your grays closer to black, which is a good thing since the helmet is black. Right. So look at that. Actually, that did wonders for the piece, I think. It moved that whole side of the helmet to looking like a reflection on a black helmet rather than a reflection on a white helmet. And I'm looking at this side now, and I think we need the same thing there, basically. Really bring this into more of a black helmet with white reflections rather than a large white area with black shadows on it. So I'm playing this now a little bit fast and loose on my old highlight zone here. But I think like this big pen is speaking to me, so I'm taking some risks. Yeah, I kind of like that. Now I think I'm going to create a rim here where there's like an area on the edge of the helmet where the light doesn't play that way, like a beveled edge. I don't know if that exists in the design, but I just created it. See, it's almost like Magneto now. I've got this beveled edge. I'll just fade that out. But this will allow me to take this reflection, darken it, and then let it go. And this reflection, I can move from this corner, darken it, and then let it go. And this one, I can come from this corner, darken it, and let it go. And they're all coming from that beveled edge. Now that I like that, I'll go up one level of pen, do it with this one. Oh yeah, that's having fun. Got a corner there, go out from that corner, kind of radiate out from this corner, radiate into this little turn. Yeah, I don't even know what I'm doing now. This is the fun part where it starts to just become its own thing, you know. Like, is it a realistic depiction of a reflection at this point? Who knows? It's just texturing. It's just cool. Up here, I'm going to go into a full deep black to kind of create a border. top and then pull that down. So it kind of integrates into the design. Pull down from that deep black. Try to hide any little seams between the layers of hatching that may still be visible. Like here, I've got a layer of this. There we go. I think I need to make this even bigger though. You know, it's funny how the area of your deep black gives everything else its value. Let me show you what it's looking like right now. See how my progress is coming along. It's a lot better, I think. But you can see in this piece right now, the deep black of this helmet is finally there, but the deep black of his face has a long way to go. And that's the strange thing about making a character who's wearing a fully black face mask. You know, it's like if you go too deep into it, you lose the face altogether. So I'm gonna have to get bold in a minute here. So now I'm using the brush pen and I'm just gonna start sculpting a little bit. I'm gonna decide which areas I'm gonna move from gray into closer to deep black just to create the contours that I want. Hopefully this is coming through on your screen. I think it is. And what do I need, right? One of these gooseneck mics so you can see every meaningful stroke. Not bad. Now I think right here, I've just got this one hatching layer, but I think I gotta go deeper here. I'm gonna check my Twitter. Been on the air for 45 minutes alone. It's kind of lonely, but I'm doing all right. It's not bothering me. I'm having a good time. And you know, as an adult, you know, when you can just set aside an hour and a half to just give yourself permission to draw, that's magic right there. So I have an audience of one and it's working for me. People joke about Bob Ross, but Bob Ross is the man. And the way he would talk to himself, you know, he had the camera running, but he's just talking to himself. So I think that comes naturally to me as well. If only I had a squirrel in my pocket. All right, the helmet is looking good, but you see how I've got this hard border here and I don't have it here? I think I just need to do that for composition's sake. So this is not a lighting effect anymore. It's just got to show where the picture ends. It does give me something to work for. Like I can pull this corner in now, deep blacks. That's actually kind of good. Now it's showing me that I can take this thing and really go into it. Like this. Let that marry into there. Oh yeah, that's looking good. All of a sudden. And go deeper into this. Into this. Let me see how that's looking when I show that to you guys. It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. But I'm having fun. You know, I have a version of this that I've already done with digital inks, and you know that was pretty fast. So the fact that I'm getting experimental here and really taking my time to just try different strokes and let them go, see if later I'm happy with what they look like, or later I'm like, what were you thinking? That's the beauty of a show like this, where I'm allowing myself to take some risks and just experiment. It's the only way I can grow. I'm the kind of person that, you know, when I wanted to learn piano, I just figured out the chords and scales and started teaching myself songs. So that's how it is. Some people are self-teachers, and I'm like that. I would love someone to show me something, someone like Ryan Wynn or some of these people who are really good. I mean, I would really like to know the name of, like, when you hold your pen this way and move your arm this way, what's that called, or what's this called? Because I'm going to be making up my own terms left and right here. All right, I'm going to get the Bic back, and we're going to bring a whole new level of grayscale to this, because I still want to do the car, okay? So I'm going to take this whole white inner layer of the helmet and just bring it to grayscale by going over it with a ballpoint in a very consistent light stroke. And what that does is by taking that one white out, now the white is this edge, right? And it means that you're going to have to make your darks darker to compensate. So every time you kind of like knock out a pure white area into gray, it changes the whole balance. It's the same way when you take an area into pure black, it changes the whole balance. Now look at these little ear pieces on the helmet. They're not symmetrical, so I'm going to fatten this one up. Boop. Fatten this black area up. Boop. I don't want it to bleed into the car too much, but here we go. Just equalize those a little bit. Let me get into the texture of his shoulder. Kind of let this kind of dissolve into brushy brush strokes. At this point, you're showing people, yeah, this is where the picture ends, and let my brush strokes be super visible. I'm going to create little highlights and textures on this wrinkly fabric. Yeah, underneath it, and leave the highlight in the middle. Yeah, get underneath it. And maybe bring that in a little more. And then grayscale the whole thing with this. Leaving a little bit in the center that doesn't. So you have two highlights, the highlight within the cylinder, and then the highlight of the next cylinder. I know some of you were saying, really, dude? You just scribbled on it with a pen. It's like the sound effects. It helps us if we tell ourselves these things. All right, I'm going to take it off the pencils for a while and really just work on it now. There's a limit to what I can do approximating the shading of the pencil. So now I'm just going to work on it like this and try to make it all start to sing. Now that I'm looking at it, my eyes are readjusting. I can see a lot of areas where we need deep black, mostly up here. So, let's see. I know when you're watching this on TV, you're watching it upside down. Sorry about that. But hey, what a big reveal when I turn it right side up, right? But I think you can see that I've made some progress in 40 minutes on this guy. It's looking pretty good. As I look at it on the screen, I see that the white of the paper is still coming through very strong. The helmet's looking pretty good, but the face has still got that very strong white coming through, which again, I'm also going to be the colorist, so I can add the grayscale layer at the coloring stage. I can do a lot with that. But I do think I need a few more deep blacks in the face area. And I got to fish out where are those going to be. Maybe this corner. Maybe this corner. Maybe right in here a little bit. Into the nose a little bit. Yeah, I think that looks good. And maybe under the chin here. So let's start there. I'm going to start here. Get into some more deep black right under this corner. I'm using the Tech pen as a fill-in pen. That's not the greatest idea anyone's ever had, but again, I'll feather it out. And then go in with the brush pen like this. And finish it. There we go. Oh, hello there. That definitely had an effect, huh? Look at that. Just closing up that one corner really made a difference. Can you see that? Yeah, look at that. Closing up that one corner just really made a difference. I'm going to get back to the Tech pen and kind of blend this in. Keep that gradient working. It's not bad. Now the shadow under the helmet wants to be much stronger, I think. So I'm going to pull a diagonal under that. Yeah, that's looking good. Now I'm starting to see we need a deep black right there. So I'm going to use a curve and just keep going over it on the curve. See how I'm doing that? And then eventually it should harden into something that looks like a deep black area. Look at that. See? See that, folks? See that? That's what you get. That's your high quality entertainment tonight. Now, where else did I say? Oh, yeah, right here, under the chin, I think we can do something. Kind of like that. Now, I think we definitely need a deep black right on the border with the car. And then pull it away. Oh yeah, it's starting to look better. I think you can maybe see what I see, but now at this phase, when you take it off the pencils and you're really just judging its own black, white, gray values against itself, a lot of stuff becomes clear. Okay, I just need to pull this all the way into there. That's not bad. And then I think I need just pretty much a solid area here of hatching. And that looks a little rough, I will agree. I maybe can hide the seams by going like that. Yeah, it's a little rough. I'm getting impatient. That's what's happening. Let's see if I can hide the seams by continuing it that way. And then feeding the deep black right into here with the brush pen. See, it's sort of like make a mistake, hide the mistake, discover something cool along the way. Isn't that really the way we all learn? So look at this. I'm extending the black under the chin much more than it was before. There we go. I think I'm getting somewhere. I think what I'm going to try to do is pull in a couple more tones right around the eyes, and then I'm going to switch to working on the car. And the car, I think I can do in about a half an hour. So, but the real challenge for this whole piece was the how to do a black face mask, right? How to do a black face mask so that it doesn't look like it's skin, because it's not, it's a rubber mask. And also how to do it where you can see contours, reflections, and try to contrast the reflections on this rubber surface with the reflections on the metal surface of the helmet. I'm going to bring in some more into the nose. I've left the nose pretty light. Let me get into it with this a little bit. There we go. That's funny what that did, because now that makes me want to bring in some darkness right around both eye corners. Like this. Yeah, sort of pull that in like that. Yeah, something like that. Maybe even down like that. And then maybe do the same kind of thing here, like darken the eye corner. I don't know why my intuition is telling me to do that. It might be the contour, the bone structure or something. The bone structure would pull in there and you'd have kind of a shaded area. I think that's what it is. I'm almost done with this, I think. Again, it's not perfect. There will be ink, as like a promise that people will take risks. And since I'm the guest on my own show tonight, I'm trying to take some risks, And then we'll just see what the finished piece looks like. All right, last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Bic and just go into some grayscales. Really just take everything down one value if I can. I think that was pretty effective. Do the same thing here. And let's see, I've got a strong diagonal on that plane already going. So the question is, do I want to counter it this way? Yeah, maybe I do. So let's see what would happen. This is one of those risks. I already have a strong diagonal on that plane. So if I'm going to counter that plane, I would go this way. Yeah, let's do it. Let's take a risk here. Like And Bob Ross said, let's get crazy. Let's get crazy. There we go. Oh, I think that was actually exactly the right way to get crazy. And see, I essentially took out a pure white. I just took it out. Now it's not pure white at all. And I think I'm compelled to do the same thing here. I see a pretty strong diagonal already on that orientation. So to counter that, I'm going to put my next hatch this orientation. Alrighty, this is going to be the complement of what I did there. It's interesting how it takes everything down one value, you know, or up one value, depending on how the correct terminology would be. Oh my goodness. Now let me show you what I got. Now does it look like a person wearing a black rubber mask? See? Wow. Again, for me, I'm no artist. I'm just a colorist and a script writer. But for me, I'm having fun doing this, I'll tell you. All right, I'm going to get in some texture at the skin and the boundary of the mask where it goes onto his eyes and lips, and then we're going to do the vehicle. As I said, this was iconic, you know, vehicles and their pilots. So on this side, his skin is all like scar tissue. So I'm going to put these like wavy lines on this face here. These are the scar tissue lines. I know it looks very cartoony, but that's the point. But I'm not going to do that on this side. And I think I'll use the tech pen and go one level deeper into that scar tissue. You know? So it really looks kind of gross. You can tell there's something wrong with them there. But by doing that, now I need to make the outline of the eye one line weight larger, heavier. There we go. And then need to do the same thing over here. Take the line weight of the eye, double its thickness. Maybe put another one of these like upward wrinkles here. Now he's a guy who's been through a lot. Give him some stubbly little eye winkers, but nothing serious. And then I think you want to shade the upper part where the eyebrow is blocking the light. So do something like that. And then maybe a little bump here to show the cheekbone. There we go. That's pretty good. Now the mouth, like I say, the mouth is what it is. I think I need to just go a little darker with the lips, the center line of the lips. And maybe create a little barrier where we can see this is the edge of the mask. And just let people see that this is the mask. That there is a lip there. I think that's important so people understand that. Yeah. Put some just imperfections and smudges in there. All right. I think we're going to declare that Frankenstein is done. And now it's just about the car. Thanks to anybody who's been in there. Oh, hey, who do I got there? What is going on? How long have you been there? 15 minutes. Oh my gosh, wise guys. Sorry, I get into what I'm doing. Yeah, no, I'm seeing the chat. Sorry. I get really into what I'm doing. That's the funny thing. There's scratchiness in the mic, really? Oh, it's probably on my face. So wise guys, I hope you're still there. And I'll catch you up on what I'm doing. If you want to come on the stream live with me, let me send you the link. Give me a hey if you're on if you're still there. Yeah, I'm the greatest host in broadcasting, wise guys. I really am. Oh, cool. Do you want to come on live? Do you want me to send you the link on Twitter? And we can chat a little bit? The thing about it is once I start inking, I look down and I just go into a zone. But if you want, I'll bring you on. Hey, look at that. Thanks for the shout out.
Okay, good. You know what? I bet it was literally rubbing up against my face. I'm not even joking. So that's the funniest thing right there. All right, I'm working on inviting you onto the broadcast. Yeah, hang for a few. It is late. It is late. You don't. I mean, wise guys, you don't have to, but it might be fun. We could talk about whatever you're working on. I could talk about Tales of Zero. We could talk about Frankenstein, who I'm drawing right now. Do. Yeah, this turned out to be a an army of one stream, but I had a good time. All right. All right. Now I just sent it to you. I think. Let me know if you got that. And then I'm going to send you the link in a moment. Oh, I sent it to you from the wrong account. I'm telling you, this is a very high level broadcast. The professionalism that we display here day in and day out. But it is fun to chat a little bit. So the characters, I'll chat with you while I'm sending you this. The character, it's from the movie Death Race 2000. And so this is the protagonist played by David Carradine, which is his name is Frankenstein. If you've never seen it, it's so good. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. Like I say, I'm a incredibly skilled broadcaster, so this is just going slow. But I should have it for you in a minute. Oh, it's really funny. It's really funny here. Let's let the folks at home watch this amazing clip. Okay, Sylvester Stallone was in it. It's so good. It's the Running Man. It's all those great dystopian game show movies wrapped in one. You know. So let's watch a clip of it. Oh, good morning. Good morning. Hello there. Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. Where am I? Let's try this again. All right, you ready? We're gonna watch a clip of it. It's so good. Okay, watch this. As I get you on the broadcast, watch this. You're gonna love this. All right. So I'll get Sylvester Stallone in this. 1975. Machine Gun Joe. Now watch this. 11 years before Rambo or whatever. Look at this. Oh really? That's all right. I'm not making any money on this. Oh, there's the car. That's the car I'm drawing. That's it. I think I couldn't have said it better myself. You will regret that. So, is that great or what? Oh, here we go. Wise guys coming on the broadcast.
Howdy.
Hi, how are you doing?
All right. Just a little tired.
Oh, of course. Well, so here's the pencils. See, so I did the pencils earlier. See that?
Uh-huh.
And so I'm putting the on the light box and doing the inks of my own pencils. That's what I'm doing. I know you asked in the chat what I'm up to. So this is this is a Crayola light box. It's available at Target for about $16. But it's amazing. It does what you need to do. See, so put it down there, and then I can draw the car. You know.
What size is it?
Oh, this is just an 8.5 by 11. It's not, again, it's not professional. I got it at a thrift store in my neighborhood for like $5.
Oh.
But once I started to use it, I really saw a lot of things come into like, wow, looking at old comic book art from the Bronze Age, especially starting to see how much it was used and how well it can be used. You know, it's like a little bit like tracing, and it's a little bit like the layers in a digital environment, because you're looking at a layer that won't be on the finished product, you know? So you're deciding like how much of that layer to bring in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And another thing is that, you know, you can do things in your pencils and then you're like, I don't like that. And on the ink layer, you just change it. It's like, you know, you have a lot of freedom to like change your mind at this stage.
Sure.
But, you know, right now I'm just having fun putting in the car. My main agenda for tonight was to spend a lot of time working on this black face mask, because to draw something in black with all the reflections and everything, it's just, I thought it'd be a good challenge.
Cool.
But I love B movies, and Death Race 2000 is such a great one. It's on the face of it, it is just stupid, just completely stupid, right? But it's making fun of like American entertainment culture, and then you realize, oh right, it's stupid because that's actually so accurate. And it was done in 1975, you know, before reality TV. And so you have all these, you know, the silly things in the cars, and each car has like a secret weapon, and the costumes like professional wrestlers, and the crowd gets into it, and they're not satisfied until like someone actually crashes and dies, right?
Right.
And then we have, of course, our world of reality TV that's come since then, which is not really any better, you know.
And so much of it is scripted.
Yeah, so much of it is scripted, and so much of it is people want to see the train wreck. You know, they want to see that when like The Bachelor. You know, who would think that a show like that could be going on for 12 or 14 years?
Yeah.
You know, and on one hand, it's like, oh, it's a search for true love, but I don't think so. I think people like to watch it for the train wrecks, right? They like to watch it for the cringe moments, and for the moment when you know someone's being lied to. It like feeds into your voyeurism when you know and someone's being lied to and they don't.
Yep.
So it's like watching the car race for hoping someone crashes, but we do that with romantic love and relationships, and it's like $1 billion industry to watch people put in an artificial situation to artificially fall in love, to have artificial heartbreak, artificial love, and, you know, and drama and gossip. It's just crazy. So what's a project that you're working on right now, since you are my guest?
Right now it's just building my channel.
Mm-hmm.
I got a couple properties I want to turn into books, but
Cool.
I haven't spent any time working on them.
Well, my strategy has been like, you know, meet people through Twitter and through, you know, and then find the people that you really click with, kind of build some enthusiasm around some projects, and then late in the game, I'm like, oh, I should start a YouTube channel, you know. So my YouTube channel is really just my way of, if people want to hang out with me, I can just be available, and if they have a book to promote, we can talk. And then I also kind of see a purpose of my YouTube channel is to let people kind of hang out in a neutral sort of setting where they don't have to be, you know, I can't talk to you because you commented on somebody's tweet 7 months ago.
Right.
And I think there's so much of that going on, even amongst the best of us get pulled into that. And I just like, being kind of anonymous, being like a Smurf, nobody really knows who I am. Like, I'm not really scary. No one has to be afraid of me. And also, like, I'm open to everybody. Just come and hang out. If you're actually trying to hurt somebody, like, then, get out of here. Like some people are, from what I understand, again, this is getting into drama, which isn't what this show is about. But some people were saying, apparently, from what I could pick up, some pretty unkind things to Piper or whatever. No, I'm not cool with that. Like, don't be mean to Piper. Like, that's not cool, right? So it's like, there is a point where if you're just trying to hurt someone's feelings, what does that have to do with comic books?
Right.
For God's sake. You're just trying to hurt someone's feelings on the internet. What are you doing? So, like, and when I say I'm open to everybody, I'm open to everybody. But on the other hand, is a kind of a basic human decency of, like, we're here to make. I mean, Piper's a writer, right? So if you're going to get on her case about her writing, right? That's what we like. I like it when I send somebody something I've written and they get into it, tell me all the things they think didn't work. That's fuel for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like people don't want to be, people can't handle negativity or adversity, but just make it about the work, and make it about the craft. So that's me. I just think, like, I'm open to people of all of the sort of factions that come and go. And you've seen it. Sometimes the factions come and go, and then 2 months later, the same people who are allies are at each other's throats, right? So it's like, so how are you gonna stay up to date on all that? You can't. You just don't bother. You just say, like, I'm about the work. Got a cool comic? Come talk about it. That's it. You can't keep track of all the alliances that fall apart and all the betrayals and stuff.
Right. That's a fact.
So much of it, and it's like, just tune in 2 months later, and there's going to be a new one. But anyway, what projects are out right now that you're excited about? Besides, of course, Tales of Zero. I don't need to tell you how good Tales of Zero is going to be, but what's out there in the world today? 'Cause we don't launch until the day after Valentine's Day, so this is all pre-launch, for me.
Well, when you launch, are you doing the pre-launch phase where you have an email list, a sign up?
Yeah, that's what we're doing right now.
All right.
So our email list is already up. We're on Indiegogo right now. So you, my friend, could even sign up and be on our pre-launch today. And everybody who's on our pre-launch is going to get a free 3D poster when they back. And I could even show a little video about that if I wasn't so into my drawing.
Okay, Tales of Zero or from Zero?
It's Tales of Zero. Zero is actually the guy's name, and he's sort of like a cross between Han Solo and Bruce Willis from Armageddon, except kind of not so much the heart of gold. He it's like when they say to Han Solo, and he says to Princess Leia, "You like me because I'm a scoundrel,"
Right.
And Zero just is a scoundrel. Like, he doesn't quite have the redeeming qualities of a Han Solo, but what he does have is the gift of storytelling. So every issue of the comic is Zero is telling you, this one time I was on this, spaceship and this happened. And then he goes into the story, and that's the story. So this one is about, he was on a mining colony, and they were this older generation who helped build the colony. But then the older generation is aging out. And so they meet up with this young guy who wants to go on an adventure, and they put it together, and they decide to, go out into the jungle searching for this alien artifact. And, what they find is the shocking reveal of Tales of Zero, right? So it's a kind of a pulp sci-fi horror comic, but it has some good stuff where, like, you learn to like the characters, you learn to see what makes them tick, so that when they're actually in danger and, in the throes of cosmic horror, you care. That's the thing. It's like, you got to make somebody care before you put a monster, chasing them.
Yeah.
So that's Tales of Zero. I think we really hit the right balance of action, horror, comedy, storytelling, all the good notes there. And we have the whole book completed, but it's not finished inks because the artist is really just an insanely good inker. And so what we have right now is we have what we call the rough cut, which is, pencils and atmospheric colors and sort of working dialogue and working lettering. So the book is complete. The storytelling, the visual story is complete. But as we get closer to launch and as we go through the 30 days, we'll keep revealing fully inked pages, kind of showing like, okay, you saw the rough cut. This is how we're doing right now. And I think that'll be fun, get people excited about the process of it. And then also, we'll do fan art. We'll get, just a bunch of stuff to like get people excited about, we're creating this thing right in front of your eyes a little bit, so, but the style we're going for is kind of a B movie. Here, I'll put some pieces of it here. Put some pieces up here while I'm drawing a car.
I think I found the campaign here.
Yeah. Here.
The one that says Tales of Zero Sci-Fi / horror graphic novel. 3D misfits on a heist in the ruins of an alien city.
You got it.
Wrong. All right.
It's the right one. Here, we can even put on the trailer while we talk about it. So I was following the advice, make your trailer no longer than 1 minute, right? So here's the trailer for all you fine folks at home. So that's the trailer, and you can see the art style is sort of like, I think we're in a similar zone to like, to Narwhal. It's sort of the art house style where things are gestural. Again, these aren't finished inks. You can see in this page, there's no deep blacks. That's just hatching. So all of this is going to get deep blacks and such. But the style is sort of like I call it like an aged film stock. Like you filmed this movie in 1974 and then it sat in the can for 40 years. And then when they opened it, the colors kind of got washed up and kind of bleed into each other. And I think that's the vibe we're kind of going for again. But you can see there's a lot of amazing draftsmanship that Matt can do. And then here I'll show you our 3D poster, which is by another great artist, Elliot Rodriguez.
Everyone who signs up for the mailing list before February 21st and backs the campaign, we're going to get a 3D poster with line art by Elliot Rodriguez. Take a look at this. Take a look. So these are the posters. I've got them laying on a rug here so you can see them. Pretty amazing 3D. And I put a Green Lantern comic next to them for some scale. These are 11 by 17. And I printed them on 2 different stock to see which had the best 3D effect. This one here, which is a comic scale, was the best one to take a look. Even without the glasses, look how his shoulder and his hand stay in one plane focus while the background moves. It's pretty cool. Look at the hand over his shoulder. The hand is closer to the camera than the back hand of the monster. And that effect is really amplified with the glasses. So look at his elbow, his cape moves in a different plane than the trees just behind him. And the monster's eyes behind the bush. So the picture lends itself really well to a 3D effect. Elliot did an amazing job. I'm super excited to have his support on this campaign. This is
volume maxed out.
Is it too quiet?
It's pretty quiet. I can. Oh, it is maxed. Huh.
Oh, I probably recorded everything quiet. Again, I'm not a professional broadcaster, but I'm learning. No politics, just amazing sci-fi adventure fun. So check us out and support Tales of Zero.
Oh, you got another person in chat. ID Crisis. Welcome.
Oh, hey. This one time at band camp? Yeah. Hey, ID, how are you doing? Yeah, I showed him an early version of this this picture of Frankenstein. But so Dave, check this out. I have I'm doing an ink, from the ground up ink from the same pencils. So it's taken me a lot longer. The one I showed you, I did digital inks and I did it really fast. But this one, I'm just getting into the process of it, and like don't mind if it takes forever to kind of build up all the layers. But so if you were saying, wise guy, you were saying that you have some IPs or things you want to develop in the future.
Yeah.
All top secret, can't talk about it. I trust.
I could say.
Yeah, give us a few hints.
So, back around 1984, I had a couple ideas back when I was actively drawing. Before I set it as my drawing as aside as a hobby, focus instead on having a quote unquote career. So one of them is more or less like a comic strip. Imagine something along the lines of Garfield and how he has a treasury.
Oh yeah.
How they'd release all these treasuries, which is basically the reprints from the newspaper strips, and Calvin and Hobbes,
of course,
and Peanuts, where the idea, I don't know if I can pull it off, is to come up with a strip that kind of speaks to all ages. Peanuts and Calvin and Hobbes were kind of ahead of their time, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
They worked at different levels. I mean, you got the action and enough and the quick, short jokes to grab the kids' attention. But at the same time, you could, as an adult, you can see the thoughtfulness behind what it was said.
Absolutely. I mean, there was a period with Peanuts. I was lucky enough, for whatever reason, I got a lot of those, the books that were what he was doing in the late 50s, early 60s, middle 60s to late 60s. And I just was blown away. I think he was at Harvard Divinity School, right? Wasn't Schultz at Harvard Divinity School during some of that? And so I think a lot of that comes out where it's so much about it was about existential questions about life, death, all this stuff in Peanuts, right? It really was deep. And it did, like you said, also done in a way that could be read by a kid and was just funny and like wry observations on life. But you could see there was a lot going on in Schultz's mind during the middle, late 60s. As there was in everybody's mind. And yeah, Calvin and Hobbes also got into so much existential questions, so that's great. I mean, anybody who can strike out in that direction and make something work, it's incredible. And it's weird because the Sunday funnies and all that stuff, it's not such a part of life anymore.
Yeah, it's dying out, and it may be close to being completely dead as an art.
Yep. I mean, pretty soon they're going to create an AI, and it's just going to make 3-panel comics, and it's just going to be like Bob and Doug, and it's going to be like you program the AI like Bob is a rectangle who never shares his feeling, and Doug is his friend, the squirrel, and like the AI just says it, Bob, what are you doing? Ha ha, and that's it. Like you can just see a dystopia, a dystopia where like the level of care reaches such a low point. So yeah, if you can do something in that zone that is fresh and cool, that'd be really fun.
I'm open to, but my original thing was comic strips, and I almost started contributing that strip to my college newspaper. But I just lacked the motivation and the drive to consistently work on it. And with those kinds of things, you have to be like a month ahead on your pages. Like if you are expected to do a daily strip, or even a weekly strip,
Mm-hmm.
you've got to be a minimum of a month, ideally more ahead.
No, I could see that. I could see the wisdom of that because, yeah, there's no safety net.
Yeah,
If you get sick, if you get hit by a car, like this paper's still got to be printed tomorrow.
yeah.
Yeah.
ID Crisis says stuck at work. What's up?
Yeah. And he also said he remembers Linus bringing a copy of War and Peace. And that's what I'm talking about. There was so much existentialism. I think, well, the thing about it was the character of Woodstock, right? The character of Woodstock obviously was created in the ethos of the late 60s, right? With Woodstock. And it's like the fact that he was a silent character, the fact that he was like the way that Snoopy could engage in self-reflection by speaking to Woodstock, it was just like, dude, this is getting deep, like Snoopy is, you have the human world and all the characters are playing their foibles out in the human world, but then Snoopy's not even in the human world. He's a dog. He's viewing things from that other perspective, and then he's in dialogue with his own, like, whatever super ego in the form of Woodstock. So yeah, it got super deep in those times, and it was amazing.
And let's see, ID Crisis said digital inks are word for me on Wacom.
Yeah, well, I am like the kind of person that I'm not here to become an artist. I'm a writer first and a colorist second and an artist for fun. So for me, playing with the tools of the traditional ink, even though it's taking me 3 hours, it's like learning how it feels and learning the feel of, like, okay, that's what it feels like when you pull that line across. To do the finished illustration, to do like a good enough illustration of this, I could do digitally and I could do it much more quickly.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just like I'm having fun learning the techniques, and learning the techniques in my own self-taught way. When I see people who know what they're doing, I mean, come on. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just playing, I'm just like a kid right here. I'm just playing. Like I'm not competing with anyone who really knows how to ink right now. But I am growing, you just grow a little bit every day. Like, I didn't ever think I would learn to color comics, right? But someday it hit me that I could try it. And when I tried it, I really liked it. And then I thought right away that I would try to develop my own style, that if you see my work as a colorist, you would be like, oh, wait, did he do that on purpose? Why didn't that line up? Wait, why did that thing go that way? Like, it pulls you in because I don't do things exactly the way that you think I'm going to. And then you would say sometime down the road, oh, this is a book where, Purple Smurf's colors would be perfect. And then just as often or more so, this is a book where his colors would never work. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not for everything. The style I want to have is like a style that works for some things, but not for everything, because I kind of liken it to like Neil Young playing guitar. Like Neil Young playing guitar is like incredibly sloppy. He wouldn't do well in most groups, but for the right song for the right moment, it's exactly right. And I want my coloring to have that personality that you can recognize that it's me. And when you see that I've committed to do a book, I've already asked myself, is this a book where my style is going to work? Because there's no reason I should do a book where my style wouldn't work, because there's 1,000 people more qualified than me to do the what I would call today's house style. Today's house style of coloring, it actually doesn't appeal to me very much. I read comics, in the early middle 80s, and access to back issues from the 70s was easy. So I was born, I was raised on the Bronze Age style, and in that style, there were always bleeds where the colors overlapped and they didn't go where they were supposed to go. And you'd see the outline of the character and the color misses by a half a centimeter, And I love that. To me, that's part of it. It was like, this is a thing where the layers got compressed, but they didn't always work. And it bugs me when people call that style of coloring from the Bronze Age, they call it flat, because it's not flat at all. It has so much texture and depth. But when they redo it for the trade paperback, then it's flat. When they do it for the trade paperback, it has no depth. So you actually have to see it on the newsprint and see how those color bleeds soaked into the paper and created a third color often, So like one of my favorite runs is the Demon Bear from the New Mutants. I had that when it was coming out, and oh my god, it was mind blowing. But if you look at the trade paperback, and everyone considers it to be a masterpiece and a landmark of comic illustration and storytelling. So if that is true, and Bill Sienkiewicz, I hope you're watching, why does the trade paperback look god awful? Why have they allowed a trade paperback for this landmark thing to look like absolute crap, where the colors have no depth? The lines are like, everything that made it good was the way the ink looked like it spilled out of a bottle, and the way that the colors merged in this unexpected way. And if you look at it in the trade paperback, all the colors fit exactly. The colors are one tone. There's no bleed. There's no depth. There's no dots. There's no halftone. There's no anything. And even the transfer they did of his ink work, it's like high contrast, black or white. I mean, Sienkiewicz was doing stuff where, he was taping photocopies and then spilling white out on that and then rubbing it then and then erasing. I mean, his stuff was very textured in that time. And so I can't believe it. I find it irresponsible of Marvel to be sitting on like an established work of genius and to be publishing it to the reading public in a format that completely ruins it. It's like a Van Gogh or something. Like, what if you did a Van Gogh, but you're like, well, actually in the Starry, Starry Night, we went back and we found out what the constellations would have looked like that, and we moved the stars around to fix it. And we actually blended these brushstrokes out because it looked kind of chunky. It's like they literally have done that to his work. They took the pieces that made it textured, flattened it. Oh, don't get me started.
ID Crisis says, especially in newspaper, Brenda Starr's lipstick never lined up.
Yes, exactly. And that's just another layer of dimension to me, because your eye is looking through the page, right? Your eye, that's like with those halftone dots, when they did the color with the halftone dots, You're looking at something that's red, but your eye never falls on a red surface. Your eye's actually looking at 3 different colors and the newsprint color. Your eye's looking through it. You're actually looking beyond. So, yeah, don't get me started. I'm like an old man yelling at a cloud. Right? Back in my day, colors were different, sonny. You could see through the colors. Okay, Grandpa, time for your nap.
Get off of my sky.
Get off of my sky. Okay, Grandma, time for your nap. But that's why, like, when I look at the pages of Tales of Zero right now, I get excited because I haven't seen a page that looks like that, where you can see the things don't line up and you can see the dots go over too far here and it's just like, I look at that and I'm like, oh yeah, I would read that. I would totally read that. And it's not because I'm saying I'm the greatest colorist in the world. It's more like I'm the colorist who has nothing to lose. A person with a reputation they would be afraid to do what I'm doing, because someone would look at it and be like, well, colorist Joe, isn't rule number 1 color inside the lines? What? What are you thinking? Didn't you know rule number 1 was color inside the lines? So, yeah. So, like I said, we have this anthology. We did a story for my artist and I, and it's called Better. Oh my gosh, Better to Sleep. But the anthology was called Quarantine Containment Breach, and so we really refined our style in that, where his inks and my colors together. I think it's something really special, So, yeah, I'm not tooting my own horn, but I really believe in the aesthetic we're creating, and a lot of it is well thought out. I don't confuse myself with a great colorist of the 21st century.
So this project you've got going on that's in pre-launch.
Yeah.
You were doing the story.
Yeah.
You wrote the script.
Yeah, I read.
You've got an artist that you've hired to do the.
Yeah, it's a collaboration. We're both in it. It's not exactly it's not exactly a work for hire. It's more like both of us said, what if we pulled this off? What if we put our resources together? So we're both sort of carrying the weight equally on this one.
Are you guys like good friends or something?
I feel like it was one of these things of like we started doing some stuff together just for fun through Twitter and stuff. And I think we just both found that our styles together created something really cool. Where like his inks, my colors together, it was just like, ooh, that's actually kind of great. That's got a personality and a vibe to it. So then we just kept going, and then we were like, well, what do you think? Do you think we could finish a book? And yeah, I think we could finish a book. And then I wrote the script. I'm like, all right, good news, bad news. The script is done. Bad news, it's 44 pages. But we've actually, as of a couple weeks ago, we've been working on it for 1 year. So it's like the first pages were done about a year ago. So, we're not in a hurry to like make it in comics. We both have day jobs, but I do think this is a good story, and I do think we make a good creative team, and that this is the kind of comic that if it's on your coffee table and a friend comes over and they start reading it, they will be like, wait a minute, I need to finish this. Do you know what I mean? It's like I had somebody read it for the first time the other day, and they were like, yeah, I breezed right through it, which is a good thing. Like, I'm not used to that feeling of like, like, but that's what I want it to be like. I kind of think of it as like one of those roller coasters where you get pulled up the hill and then there's the drop. And that's how we do the storytelling. It's like there's a long period in the story where you get to know the characters, you care about them, you're seeing things in their worldview, but that's just the roller coaster climbing up the hill, And then there's a point where we just let it drop. And at that point, if someone says, hey, come over here, you'll be like, no. I got to see what happens next. The moment you sort of set the trap and sprung the trap. And I think we've pulled that off very, very well.
Yeah, so, ID's Crisis says, that reminds me of Dana Carvey's Grumpy Old Man.
Yeah, of course.
Now in the 80s.
Oh my God, I know. That one and the Unfrozen Caveman Lawyer. How true they were, right? And I use that Unfrozen Caveman Lawyer all the time. I'm just a caveman. Your modern ways frighten me. Yeah, good stuff. All right, well, I'm not going to keep you guys up any later. I'm going to put a couple more lines on this car. I'm going to hold it up to the camera, and we're going to call this episode done. So sometimes, like in this YouTube world, in this indie comics world, I don't let, I don't go by my real name.
Mm-hmm.
Although you can just look on any of my work. But so it's not like it's a secret, but I kind of like Narwhal. I like Narwhal. He is, his name is Narwhal. You see his art style, you see his storytelling style, and then that's Narwhal.
Yeah.
And no part of you is like, I wonder what his name is.
All right.
That's exactly how I want to do it. That when you've seen a few of my pieces, you're like, oh yeah, that's how Purple Smurf would do that. That's how he would color it. That's how he would tell a story. And when my name is completely not relevant, like who cares? This is like a brand name. It's like the name for your movie production studio or something. It's like, but on the other hand, the funny thing is like, what do you call people when you're on the live stream? Like ID Crisis, I know his name. Everybody knows his name. Sometimes we even call him Dave. But it's just so funny. So for you, Wise Guys Entertainment, what would you like me to call you if we're chatting calmly on the stream?
Doesn't really matter.
So, see, it doesn't really matter. Isn't that
I go by Wise Guys. I go by Wyman. I go by Y.
I see.
Cool. I go by Whizjizz.
Whizjizz. Yeah, you need a soft drink tie-in with that. Yeah. People call me Smurf. People call me Purple, and that's exactly it. It's like totally fine. It's not really, it's not anything like that, because in a way, our YouTube channels, our Twitter handles, that's our house brand.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
The more times you say it, the better, right? The more times people say Wise Guys Entertainment or ID Crisis Designs or Purple Smurf 13, we're just increasing our brand. All right, I'm almost done. Just put a little shading on these teeth.
ID Crisis added Phil Hartman. Yeah, R.I.P.
Oh my God, Phil Hartman was so talented.
Yeah,
he was so talented, and you couldn't have Will Ferrell without him. Like the whole Will Ferrell style of humor was just an update of what Phil Hartman was doing. Phil Hartman was so freaking good.
Yeah. ID Crisis says, I'm terrible with names. That's a reason to visit the urologist. Whizjizz.
Oh gosh. I see what you did there.
But some people also make like Cheese Whiz references. So
Cheese Whiz, yeah. Cheese Whiz gives cheese guys.
Except instead of Cheese Whiz, it's Jizz Whiz.
Oh God.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
the the other half of your question, or the answer to the other half of your question is the other IP I need to work on is basically a traditional superhero story.
All right, explain that.
Well, it's more having an origin story and not being a Mary Sue, and going back to the 80s and 90s comics that I love with. It's kind of in a similar vein to Peregrine, how they're bringing back like the classic style comics.
Yeah.
Hopeful heroes.
Yeah, exactly.
Pictures without agenda and garbage.
Yep.
I keep bouncing back and forth, trying to figure out which one would be more appealing to an audience. And I mean, I guess I could literally throw it out there, but I don't feel I have enough work prepared and to move forward just yet. I might have to just spend a few days or a week and just hammer out some content and then start sharing it on the internet and see what people say.
Yeah, what I've got, I kind of see my little production house as, like a movie, that we joke about. People see comics as a stepping stone to Hollywood.
Yeah.
And what a joke that is. And so for me, like, my flip on that is I see the comics book is Hollywood. Like, I will probably never make a movie, but when Tales of Zero has released, I made a movie. It's just a movie for your mind. Like, it's a movie. It's a movie in your mind. Like, it's not going to be a movie. It is a movie now, right? It's already a movie. When it goes into your mind, it becomes a movie. That's how we read comics. So I kind of look at the artists I'm working with and the projects I have coming up after Tales of Zero, and we're going to do a follow-up book too, I hope, if we don't blow this one, as like movies in production. So I have a couple movies that are already in production. I've got artists I'm working with and we're already putting pages down, and it's like, have a release schedule. If Tales of Zero sells 100 copies, I'll be blown away, right? Because I mean, that's not a lot, but who am I? No one's ever heard of me, right? So if I can get 100 people who like buy it and go, dang, that was excellent. What's your next one going to be? That's all it takes. You just need a base hit, right? You just need to hit the ball and show people that you're for real. You will deliver an entertaining, high quality experience, and that you'll fulfill your word, and you're not going to flake out. And if I do that, I'll feel really like we accomplished something, And then I've got some follow-up projects. So yeah, I've got a Western. It's like a Kung Fu Western that's coming up. And then I also have this sort of like a thing I'm doing that's like not a Bronze Age, a Silver Age, kind of a Silver Age superhero. And really trying to capture a lot of the nuances of that style, one generation before me even, where there's kind of like a wholesomeness to it. And playing on that wholesomeness and without it being stupid, And so I'm super excited about that. And then I have another one that I'm working on with an artist that is going to be like it's not quite Conan, because Conan had like villages and stuff, but it's a prehistoric humans. So it's like a Paleolithic setting. And we're having a lot of fun with that, kind of like earlier than Conan, less.
You were like working with several different artists on several different projects.
Yep, because I write the scripts. That's the thing. Like, my main thing is writing scripts, and I storyboard. So if I storyboard it and script it, and I find the right artist, and we start cranking out pages, all of a sudden we both get excited, right? Because the road ahead is done. Like, the scripts and the storyboards are done. So when that artist starts to add their personal style to it, we both are like, whoa, this is cool, because I mean, you see me, I'm not the world's greatest artist, but I could storyboard. But then when a real artist takes my storyboard and does it, then it gets very exciting. So yeah, I've got about three projects on deck, and who knows what the release schedule will be on those, but it's keeping me very excited. And again, like I feel like Narwhal is a good inspiration for me, that, he's he's sort of just shown that you can have your little idiosyncratic style, and if you do it well and fulfill, people want to see what's your next move. What's your next thing going to be, and they understand like the nuances of how you write and how you present things visually. But when I work with different artists, you're still going to know it's my script, but it's a totally different world, which is super fun, I think.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, that's fine.
Narwhal is pretty unique, and I like his stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I came in on it late, and I missed out on his Earthbound book, and I hear nothing but rave reviews. And even your boy Zach did a car review where he had the book sitting in his lap in his car, and he reviewed it. And yeah, so I got in on the other one where, oh shoot,
Foreign Agent.
That's the one. I almost had it. Hey,
we're all old and it's past 1 o'clock, so I should have stopped the stream already for the benefit. All right, so yeah, Narwhal, I think his style and my style, it's like we're not the same at all, but I think there's a commonality that you could call the art house style, where you're willing to take visual risks. And at first, the viewer might be like, whoa, 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 whoa. And then they look deeper. And if you can get it, if you can flip them, the reader, so they go with you, then you've won the deal, right? So I feel like I call that the art house style. And he has it, and a few other people. I think we're seeing more of it too, which is exciting. The Paleolithic art that I'm doing is by the same artist who did a book called Otis Stein. And so this artist is named Carlos Rodriguez, and he's just fantastic. His line art looks somewhere between like a woodcut and graffiti, and it's just so distinctive. So when I saw his line art, I was just like, listen, you and me, someday we're doing a project. And now it's in the works. So he's fantastic. And his style is very idiosyncratic. You recognize it as soon as you see it, once you've seen one of his books. But I just think he's fantastic. So
yeah,
that's it. More of the art house style, more people willing to kind of have a visual signature that is unapologetic and is cool, and then people learn to look forward to that and say, oh, I want to see what's your next move within the the style that you're developing.
Yeah, ID Crisis says Narwhal style is different. I honestly don't know why I like it. There's a free-flowing Eon Flux look.
Exactly. And I think that Narwhal, from what I recall, he's spent years working as a storyboard artist, but not in Hollywood. He was the outsource. So a person in Hollywood has a job and they're late, so they go on some Craigslist and they're like, I need a storyboard and it's got to be done in 4 days. And so Narwhal was like somehow plugged in to be on those inside Hollywood Craigslists. So he would get the storyboard gigs that people needed done really fast. Like, we need this done or whatever. So his experience, I may be misquoting this, and so he can correct the record, but he did a lot of storyboarding for projects, but he was the outsourced hired guy. So he was never going to be credited. You're never going to see his name on the things that he did, right? But I think that's the point, is that when you're doing the storyboard side, and that's how I think too, is you get the sense of motion and the dynamic motion, how things move, where they land, and that's that Aeon Flux look, right? It's like your focus is on this different sense of motion, and that's the way I look at it too. So.
Aeon Flux is really nice. What I like about Narwhal style is for looking so simplistic, it reflects motion, dynamic poses, and it tells a story.
Yep. Well, I admire all those qualities, and I know I have all those same qualities, but my way. So my way is not his way, but we ring a lot of the same bells, but differently, But it's like, I didn't tell when I saw his work. I was like, oh, this is a guy that I could get along with, stylistically. All right, so I'm done. There's my picture. The
Dang.
challenge of drawing the person with the black face mask, that was really always going to be the hard part, so I think I got pretty good. And the car wasn't actually that hard at all.
So,
All right, guys, let's wrap this up. Do you want to anything else you want to tag on before we hang up and get some sleep?
I was just gonna say, so you've got like this theme going, iconic cars and their drivers.
Yeah, that was just for today. Anybody who wanted to hang out, I put out a theme, so anybody who wants to hang out and draw, just do your spin on that, whatever your vehicle is.
Oh,
So,
okay. I thought
you see what I mean?
The whole series of them.
No, this is just like this week's theme. But hey, if I have no viewers, for weeks and weeks, I'll just reuse my themes.
Okay.
I think some of my themes are pretty darn good. But this is what I came up with this one because I just thought of, the Battlestar Galactica. This one I did on ID Crisis stream the other day as a warm up. So I did Athena and the Colonial Viper.
Oh my gosh, that's cool.
Yeah, so just like the idea of like the person, the vehicle, and like make a little composition out of it. So I like doing that. I mean, those we were saying on ID Crisis stream the other day that the female pilots in Battlestar Galactica were just really cool.
Hell yeah.
Like they get no credit apparently.
Yeah.
For being like really cool, really feminine, but also really tough, also completely competent in the battlefield. And then when they were done and they come back from the mission, they're just like, hey, how's everybody? Boom, like part of the crew, not viewed as less than. So they were cool. And of course the actresses were just gorgeous. They had like some beautiful actresses. Even it was, like Jane Seymour was in the early ones, and I love that show.
Oh, I forgot Jane Seymour being in it.
Yeah, she was in the first three, I think, in the original miniseries or pilot.
Another one character I liked was Wilma Dearing.
Oh yes,
from Buck Rogers.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, she's on my list too. I put some pictures up to give people ideas, and I put her up there. Yeah, she's something else. She is something else. And if you look into interviews with Erin Gray today, she's just a wonderful person. You can just tell through and through. It just comes through.
ID Crisis says they were cool before it was cool.
Yeah, they really were. Well, that's the thing for me. I was 11 years old in 1986. I was buying comics heavily in 85, 86, 87. That was like the peak period for me, 11, 12, 13 years old. And at that time, people say it like it's a cliche, but Storm was the leader of the X-Men. Monica Rambeau was the leader of the Avengers. And that's how it was. And it was awesome. That was how it was. Nobody cared. Nobody thought it was like, it was awesome. Monica Rambeau was so cool. She was a great character. And Storm is my favorite X-Men forever. And she was incredible. She was tough, but also she had vulnerability. She had the time when she lost her powers for like 3 years. It's like she went through so much, and she was just incredible, really beautifully conceived and executed as a character. And my favorite X-Men stories were like, Shadowcat and Ilyana and Storm versus Dracula versus Satan. I mean, I was telling ID, they went through these plot lines in 83 and 80 where they just went to town on the satanic panic that was going on with heavy metal music. So they were like, oh, really? Is that what the kids are into? Well, let's put Storm and Kitty Pryde and Shadowcat in hell and have them battle Satan, and then have Belasco possess. And oh my God, they were great. They were great. They were like old school horror stories in the X-Men universe, and then the 3 female leads carried the story. I mean, Ilyana is such a great character. And because I love, my favorite comic of all time is The New Mutants, and she's just so fantastic. And I feel like most people, again, I'm old man yells at cloud, but I think today the cosplay era, it's like people just think of the cosplay like, oh, Ilyana, big sword, horns. You know what I mean? Like we've reduced the character to like the cosplay version of the character. Where like if you go back to Ilyana, she was like, if I can remember correctly, she was like 11 years old, but then she was sent to limbo where she aged became older, went through this whole demonic transformation, but then came back, was still 11 years old with the knowledge she had as a 20-year-old. It was confusing. She went through like so many phases where she was a little girl who was innocent, but she was also like the bride of the devil. And there was so much going on with her. And it wasn't just like big sword, horns, like a huge, and people don't mention the fact that she's Colossus' little sister, like that she has that family connection to Colossus. I feel like the understanding of her character is pretty shallow these days.
ID Crisis says, ironic that the character is all about the visuals today and no character. So what's the point?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even the old characters, like this is something that gets me. Just picture you're Marvel. You have Aurora Monroe, Storm, one of the coolest characters that's ever been created. What has she done in the last 7 years in comics that's been interesting? Right? It's like Marvel, you're sitting on these characters and you're not letting them do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Just think of like, why doesn't Storm have her own book? Like she doesn't need the X-Men. She could, with the right writer, she could just have her own solo book and it could be great.
Well, they're too busy being invaded by SJWs
or something. It's something, man. It's something. It's generational. It's opportunistic. It's trying to be whatever they're trying to do. It's trying to cash in on something. And I feel like it hasn't been in service of the characters and the mythology a lot of the time. You know what I mean? It's not been advancing the characters and the mythology, whatever it is they're pursuing.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like a lot of times we diagnose a problem afterwards, like Zach or anybody, they look back, oh, this is it. This is when it happened. It started in 2014. It started in 2015. But you got to think like, what did they think they were doing? What did they think? They must have believed they were making these franchises better, right? And so it's just,
I suppose.
So you got to look at it like, wow, did they go wrong? But it's like The Last Jedi. It's very similar to The Last Jedi. Like, how could they possibly not know how that was going to blow up in their face? But they did it. So there must be some hubris. There must be some hubris that it's like, we can do this. The fans will still, be there even if we do this. And then the fans are like, ouch, that hurt. Stop hurting me. That's the thing. Like for this on the Star Wars side of things, when they say like, oh, what are you going to say now? A movie ruined your childhood? Yeah. Well, yeah, that has meant something to me since I was a child. That part of me that is 5 years old still feels things. And you hurt me when you hurt that character. Like, I don't have to be embarrassed by that. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like I know, actually, yeah, you did. You didn't ruin my child, but you hurt a part of me that cares and loves this character since I was a child. So yeah, you did actually. Yeah. So yeah, that's that hubris, that they thought, oh, we can do this. But it's like these things mean something to us and they have for our entire lives. So when you kind of toss them around and it hurts us, it's just simple enough. It's like, it's not a macho thing. It's more like dude, this mattered to me. This mattered to me. I've been carrying an emotion about this since I was a kid. So if you disrespect it, it hurts. Like, why is that so hard to understand,
Yeah, ID Crisis is right. They're selfish, basically.
Exactly. They thought they were going to pull something off, and I'm not sure what they would. And then a lot of times, some of the gestures that we see at representation, I'm going to use Star Wars as a parallel because I don't want to even, I don't want to hate on comics too much. Even comics I don't enjoy, I don't feel like hating on them. I just want to promote what's good. But in Star Wars, it's like some of the characters they've brought in, as I guess what you could call representation, they've done a terrible job. They've done a terrible job with these characters. Like in the movie Solo, you had a character named Val. She was played by the actress Thandie Newton, who was coming right off of season 1 of Westworld, which was really good. And she was incredible in Westworld. And they gave her like a bit part and killed her off in the first 10 minutes.
What was her character?
So what's the point? What did you do that for? Her name was Val.
Yeah, but
she was like Woody Harrelson's girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
But it's like you want the backpats for the inclusion of this, but you squandered this brilliant actress. you had this brilliant actress and you gave her nothing to do and killed her off in 10 minutes. Like, they do that all the time. I can't see how they don't see it.
It's like they're acting like clout chasers or something.
Yeah, and you're squandering the talent of the people you have in front of you.
Yeah.
And so anyway, but that's, Star Wars is a good parallel because I feel like gloves are off in that universe. We can just take shots at it because it's become such a mess. All right, well, let's wrap this up. I'm going to get to bed, you guys. Thanks so much for hanging out. I really appreciate it, Wise Guy, and an idea as well. It's a late night one, but ended up being a good conversation. And I'm going to hold this little time slot so that when we do the rollout of Tales of Zero, it's like people know where to find me. People can get on with me, and I talked to Don Chin, and I think we're going to do an episode of this show where the topic is going to be the radioactive black belt hamsters, and the theme is going to be to draw the adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters, but in alternate settings, like draw them as if they were mecha, draw them if they were like
really
in the movie Predator, like take those 4 characters, but then like mess with them and put them in some strange new context because they were so, I don't know if you read that, but that was almost like a comic strip at times. Sometimes the art was very minimal and you just like, oh, this guy has spiky hair. Okay, this guy has sunglasses. It's like the only way to differentiate them is these little markers sometimes. But then on other panels, everything is so deeply rendered. So yeah, the Black Belt Hamsters was a really fun book. But yeah, so we'll do that. We'll do that in a couple weeks. And then February 15th will be the launch for Tales of Zero. So yeah, we're just gonna help each other out. I'm intrigued about your idea with the comic strip. So now my mind's gonna be working on that. And one of my kids just recently got into reading Garfield. Reading the Sunday Treasuries of Garfield, and I had all those too. So I've been reading a lot of those recently and having a ball doing that.
Oh yeah, those were fun.
They were funny, and some of them the humor is not really appropriate today. Where like today, where Garfield is just like says, "Well, you're stupid. Well, you're dumb. Well, you're stupid." Kids can't talk that way anymore.
Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much, you guys, for hanging. I'm going to bring the show to a close, and I really appreciate you guys, your time and your company.
Yeah, thanks for.
And we'll promote, each other's projects going forward. Just help each other out.
All right, sounds cool.
All right, take care. Have a good night, you guys.
Take it easy, Al.